going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So today's Wednesday, it's hump day. Certainly feels like a hump day if we have a look at what's going on. Not really too much happening. We're kind of just being dragged along today, just sort of going sideways. If we give the markets a quick refresh live, we basically haven't really moved at all. $4,033 Bitcoin, $151 Ethereum, 36 cents XRP. Now, Bitcoin's dominance has gone up 0.3%, so somebody's buying Bitcoin. Now, if we have a look at the biggest gainers of the day, we have Aurora up 14%, Pundi X 13, Mixin, Holochain, Nexo, Tron, Cardano, Bugure Coin yet again, Nano, and Hypercash all up today. Now, moving on over to the charts, we are just looking at this right now. We're just waiting for something to happen. I mean, the last time that the charts were moving sideways like this, January 4th and 5th, we had that massive pop-off, right? And now we find ourselves in a very similar predicament. So the question is, are we going to be able to break through this high that we had right here, which was around $4,226? Because if we don't, then we're just keeping higher lows, which eventually could end up breaking to the downside, which means that we'd go down to around $3,100. That's worst case scenario, short term. Best case scenario short term is, we break through this and we go above 4,200, 4,300. So keep your eye on this, guys. I have a feeling something's going to happen. Which way is it going? Not 100% too sure. Either way, I'll take it though. Up or down? Down, I accumulate. Up, I hold. Okay, moving on. I wanted to talk about, oh, I forgot, I had this ready just in case it fell under $4,000 during the video. I was going to be like, oh no, but it's actually surprisingly stayed above it, so forget that. Now, I wanted to talk about what happened the other day because we had the Bloomberg, they were reporting that the Japanese FSA was considering the approval of a Bitcoin ETF. Of course, it was from an anonymous source, which are our favorite kinds of sources, right? Well, it turns out that they contacted the representative from the FSA and they said, no, at this moment, we are not exploring an approval of an ETF based on crypto assets. They also said that they don't know who this person is that they were talking about that was familiar with the matter. So, I mean, there you guys go. Another ETF. They don't care. It's not approved. I mean, does anyone care at this point? Like, is anybody genuinely upset when an ETF, gets rejected or when they're not interested? I mean, at this point, I don't even think it matters. And honestly, everyone's looking at the US anyway, so I think the ETF that would really, start the momentum would be one happening in the US. Now, there is good news though, not all bad. Now, we've seen a lot of other countries, slamming down on cryptos like China, for example. Well, Thailand has actually began to open their doors to, digital assets. So it says a number of crypto exchanges and blockchain startups filed for licenses from the Thai SEC and have been waiting since August. The SEC recently permitted 7 exchanges to continue operating, and now the approval has arrived for 4 of them this week, and they've announced this in an official statement. So that's actually good news moving forward. So, you take a little bit of good, you take a little bit of bad. But one thing, there was an update from Cumberland, and they say desk update. Historically, our OTC trading is relatively balanced between buyers and sellers. Over the last week, our over-the-counter buy and sell ratio has increased approximately 60% towards counterparties buying. So, when we went back here and we were looking at the Bitcoin percentage, well, like I said, somebody's buying, right? Obviously over the counter though, doesn't affect the price. Okay, well, we've established this. So, I wanted to talk about the first Israel Bitcoin Summit, and I want to specifically mention how front and center we had Nick Szabo. Now, he's been an early pioneer in the blockchain space, and actually a lot of people think this guy could actually be Satoshi Nakamoto, although he has denied it on multiple accounts. Now, why do they say this? Well, honestly, there's a huge list. I mean, I could make a whole video on it, just why they think he's Satoshi, but some of the ones are like his name is Nick Szabo, so it's NS, and then if you take those and flip them around, it's Satoshi Nakamoto, so it's SN. And then some people were also saying, like, when Coinbase listed their original, they said they were looking at Cardano, basic attention token, and everything else. Well, the letters actually spell out his last name. For example, Z, right, and then S for Stellar, A for ADA, Cardano, B, basic attention token, and O for 0x, so Szabo. If you guys never heard about that, well, there you go. That's the conspiracy. So, moving back to the story, I just thought that's a fun little anecdote if you guys didn't know that. So, via a lengthy presentation, Szabo outlined the history of currencies and examined parallels between different forms of cash that were used in the past and the current development of cryptocurrency as a medium of exchange. So, concluding his talk, he said that he expects cryptocurrency use to grow in countries subject to conflict. And we've already seen this in places like Venezuela and other countries that have adopted it out of necessity. So he also noted that governments which badly mismanage their fiat currencies, though that could include virtually every country in the world, can also expect to see some of their citizens turn to cryptocurrencies. I like this tweet actually by Steph. Bitcoin could survive a nuclear war. So both predictions are certainly wild. Ukraine, which is both, corrupt and engaged in a proxy war with Russia, has seen a large uptick in cryptocurrency usage in the past 12 months. He also claimed that central banks may start to supplement their gold reserves with cryptocurrency. Now, the big story yesterday was about Russia, right? Now, we already saw Russia buying tons of gold. This is already happening. And the question is, are they going to start allocating some of that for Bitcoin? We already know they have massive warehouses like the size of Walmart's just mining. So the question is, are some of these other countries going to follow in Russia's footsteps, potentially, if they go through with this massive purchase next month? So he says there's going to be some situations where a central bank can't trust a foreign central bank or government with their bonds. So one solution that's been developed is to have the Swiss government hold it for you. That's not a trust minimalized solution. The Swiss government itself is subject to political pressures, and so a more trust minimalized solution is cryptocurrency, okay? He also says the other problem with gold reserves is that they're physically vulnerable. He actually uses the example of when the Nazis conquered countries in Europe, the first place they went to was a central bank's gold reserve, right? So with the central bank gold reserve, you would have like a choke point, a point where we could go in and, if there was an attack or something like that, and they could just take it, whereas Bitcoin is much more secure. Right? And then he went on to talk about the Lightning Network and all the different updates that are going on, which we talk about all the time on this channel. So, I just wanted to kind of point out this tweet. It goes on to say, now this is Tyler Winklevoss. He says, imagine if your email worked like your money. That is to say, it was available from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and it took sometimes up to 3 to 5 days for someone in another country to get your message. Unacceptable. Right? So just goes to show you the early days of cryptocurrencies. And yeah, things like the Lightning Network are definitely going to help speed up these processes moving forward. Now, I wanted to talk about this as well. Now, I saw this in the news. Obviously, this was something that people were talking about last night. I didn't get around to it because I had already put my video out, but I do want to talk about what's going on in France. Now, we're very well aware of the protests that are happening, so I'm not going to touch on that, but I wanted to talk about the yellow vests. The protesters are planning a bank run where most of the civilians would withdraw funds from the bank. So you have a French boxer who took to YouTube to call for people to withdraw their funds from the bank. Now, obviously, as you guys know, most banks, they rely on fractional reserve lending or fractional reserve banking, right? Which basically means they don't have enough in the bank to actually cover if everyone was to withdraw everything all at once. So you could see down here, there was a tweet from Max Kaiser, and he said, if every French person converted 20% of their bank deposits into Bitcoin and got a Bitcoin debit card to use for day-to-day stuff, French banks and the government would collapse and a lot of bloodshed could be avoided, okay? It could potentially be devastating, considering, if you figure most of them only have around 10% actually on hand. So if you tried to remove 20%, I don't even know if that would be possible, actually. So the whole reason why Bitcoin was born, just to kind of break it down, was with a vision to serve as an alternative currency against fiat monetary systems run by central banks. The sentiment in France seems to fit the description of the problem that Bitcoin is trying to solve. So the trust in the establishment and the banks are lower than ever, pushing its citizens to withdraw into cash and find alternatives to store their wealth. And we've even seen different polls that have come out. A lot of millennials and even younger people are like, I don't trust the government, I don't trust the banks, So we're really starting to wake up to the way these guys operate. And another thing too is you got to give it to the French. They've overthrown governments 4 times. Starting a new revolution isn't exactly that far-fetched for these guys. So if they do decide to overthrow the euro currency system, well, they might just end up turning to Bitcoin as a tool. If any of my viewers are from France, I'm curious to see what your take is on this, because it's always difficult, when you read a news article, I gotta take it for what it is. How are things in France right now? What's happening? Let me know below if you're, from there. So if the French start withdrawing their funds, they will have plenty of cash at their disposal, which could be invested into Bitcoin, but the banks will likely install withdrawal limits if they see it as a threat, which will ultimately cause them more damage. So we are definitely going to be watching this very, very closely and see how this situation unfolds. Now, let's talk about a scandal, something that happened. This has been going on for quite some time. So you have Julian Hosp, president of TenX, has officially stepped down after people thinking that there might have been a massive pump and dump scheme. Now, without going into too much detail on this, basically, they came out with a token, Pay, and that Pay token was supposed to be used in the ecosystem, but also reward users of their cards, okay? So if somebody was to spend money, they would take a 1% cut, they would take 0.5%, and 0.5% would be split to all the people holding, tokens, okay? I may not be exactly 100% correct on the numbers, but that was the idea behind it. So they had an issue with their credit card, whoever was doing it, I think it was Wavecrest, I want to say, and they ended up not being able to make the cards, right? So this kind of went on for a while. Everyone was like, what's going on? So finally, they decided just recently that they were going to introduce a TenX token, which would be the second token to the ecosystem. A lot of people were confused, concerned about this. Well, what ended up happening, long story short, was leading up to the events, you can see right here, this is right around December 8th, and all of a sudden, there's this massive pump, slow, decline. And this is what they would essentially call the exit pump, and then a straight down drop and an exit. Now, they seem to think that this was dumped down here, because if you look at some of these transaction records, it says it's being rumored that his resignation was all pre-planned and Julian dumped 2.2 million Pay tokens on December 30th, 2018. There was a 200 Bitcoin sell candle on the 30th of December. Usually the volume was around 10 Bitcoin. Coincidence? You decide. So obviously we can't literally tell if it was him, but it does seem kind of interesting. Now, he's also been involved with pyramid scams before, and yeah, a lot of people are very upset about this. So if you want to read more about this, you can, but that's the situation. You can watch the video. It's about a minute long. He kind of looks like he's he's kind of, you could tell he's like really emotional, but I don't know. That's what's going on with that. Personally, I gave up on this project a long time ago. I'm sorry. I was interested in it when it came out. In fact, I held some Pay tokens for a while. But after, a few months, I was just like, I don't know about this. And I got out of that. So, but that's what's going on with those guys. Now, keeping up in the same vein of some controversy that's been happening recently, it looks like a lot of crypto users are a little upset with what happened with Steemit recently. Now, we usually turn to Steemit for being that alternative to Facebook or these other social networks like Twitter, for example, because of the censorship, right? So that's one of the selling points, is that it's immutable via the blockchain. However, there is a front-end aspect of it. So granted, everything on the underlying chain is immutable, they still have a centralized kind of front end to the network, right? So this is basically what happened. You know how the other day we had that guy, the Dark Overlord, that's his name, and he was threatening to release some 9/11 papers if you didn't pay him Bitcoin and all this other stuff? Well, it looks like he's taken on a bunch of different platforms to try to get his message across. For example, he posted something on Pastebin, which had the links to the images of the leaked documents online, and it appears that the original message has been taken down. So the user, the Dark Overlord, claimed that based on the group's Pastebin announcement, the U.S. law enforcement agencies were requesting Twitter to also ban them as well. So he decided to move to Steemit, where he thought that, you know, everything would be okay. But it turns out that January 7th, he was banned by Steemit developer Jay Redbeard, okay? And a lot of people are like, what's going on here? I thought this was supposed to be all about, you know, free speech and everything like that, you know? So it says the Reddit community was furious over the ban since it was supposed to be uncensored and unregulated, except it isn't. Steemit has had their own, you know, they have their own terms of service, which impose controls on the content of the website. So you can see this guy says, basically dead now after this. I regret people ever telling people this was an option. Someone else says, and that's how Steam turns into censorship. Oh, yeah, never mind. Steemit is now, without a doubt, responsible for everything that gets posted on their platform since they have taken on the role of moderating their platform, which basically says that up until this point, everything has existed through them, right? Now, interesting, according to point 13 on their terms of service, Steemit deserves the right to suspend or delete any account without any prior notice if they find a breach of any term of service agreement. And then point 14 introduces restrictions on the user conduct and prevents users from engaging in any services prohibited by law. So this conduct goes directly against what was originally stated in the white paper. So in the white paper, it said Steem is a decentralized network that is operated by witnesses in jurisdictions around the world. All user actions are publicly recorded on the blockchain and can be publicly verified. This means that there is no single entity that can censor content that is valued by Steem holders, except that it just was censored. So they go on to say freedom of speech is the foundation of all other liberties, and any infringement upon freedom of speech undermines the only peaceful means of reaching consensus, discussion. Without free discussion, voters cannot be fully informed, and uninformed voters are a greater threat to society than losing the right to vote. Censorship is a means of stealing votes through limiting public discourse. Steem is committed to enabling free speech and building a free society. And this was the question that we had sparked the other day when it came to what happened with Gab and them basically getting, you know, shut off and not allowed to use Coinbase, right? Now, that is the question of freedom of speech. Where do you draw the line, right? I mean, when is too much too much? When do you cut somebody off and say that's enough? You know, that's my question. So the thing is Steemit does not offer the kind of decentralization offered by Bitcoin, wherein no participant is more influential than other participants. It should be emphasized that Steemit uses delegated proof of stake consensus algorithm, which allows certain delegates to take actions without the consensus of the community. So what is your opinion on this, guys? I mean, if we're making a platform that's supposed to be about, you know, free speech and, you know, no censorship, I mean, yeah, you got this guy, Dark Overlord, threatening to release 9/11 papers, you know, doing a ransom with Bitcoin. But the question is, where do we draw the line? I'm very, very, very interested in how you guys feel. Definitely drop below. I'd like to start a discussion on this. I mean, do you think that sometimes it's okay to censor? Or do you think that it should just be free speech, you know, all out battle royale, say, do whatever you want? What do you think? So, all right, moving on. Let's talk about some coin news today, and then we'll get on out of here because I know you got places to be. We all got places to be. RippleNet signs up 13 new companies, scoring 200 customers worldwide. This is pretty incredible. So they have a bunch of companies that have signed up. There's a whole bunch of banks here. I'm not going to list them all because it'll probably bore you. But currently, RippleNet operates in over 40 countries across 6 continents. So now they have 200 customers. And according to Ripple's CEO, Brad Garlinghouse, RippleNet is seeing 2 or 3 new customers join each week since last year. That's pretty incredible. So a number of other companies have also started using XRapid, which is good. That's what we've been waiting for. That's what's going to give weight, you know, the value to the token itself. Among them, you have Mercury FX, Collix, and Catalyst Corporate Credit Union. So back in June of 2018, you know, Ripple's CEO predicted that major banks would use XRapid as a liquidity tool, and his prediction seems to be true, although they're being a little skeptical about it. I don't see banks instantly jumping on XRapid as the solution, but currently you're seeing a lot of them sign up for XCurrent for cross-border payments, which, you know, we'll take right now. Okay, so what else do we got in the news today, guys? So we got IOTA, and it looks like if we scroll down here, the IOTA Foundation announced that its open source Tangle technology and masked authenticated messaging, or MAM, protocol is going to be supported by the IBCS Poland with a solution to track and trace assets in the supply chain. So supply chain is a great use case for blockchain solutions. I mean, I say that a lot on my channel. So this aims to support the IBCS IBCS group customers in improving their delivery planning and shipping, okay? So there's obviously issues because most returnable assets in supply chain are not tracked or are only tracked manually, which creates inefficiencies and economic losses due to low return rates. So delays and high costs associated with tracing these items. As a result, a large amount of assets are not circulated back to owners and instead are either given to competitors or are inefficiently recycled or disposed. So to remedy these problems, the IOTA-powered solution is going to provide a unique digital identity for each asset, including position and identity of the organization currently having custody of it, all of which can be viewed and managed through a simple mobile application. We also have Neo Virtual Girl. What is this all about? So it's a virtual girlfriend, and this is by Blahcat, B-L-A-Cat. They announced an open beta version for the first virtual girlfriend on blockchain. There you guys go. We've officially gone to the moon. We now have virtual girlfriends on the Neo blockchain. I think we've done it. I think I can just pack up the video and move on, guys. That's pretty much the sky. No, but seriously, check it out. These guys won an award. It was pretty cool, so yeah, I like Neo. Neo's a cool project. I'm actually looking to go to their DevCon in February, so if any of you guys are out there, maybe we'll run into each other. So that would be pretty fun. Now, I also want to talk about PIVX becoming the first anonymous proof-of-stake coin to launch on an iOS wallet. The wallet itself is just called PIVX, okay? And it says it'll enable users to conveniently store, send, and receive PIVX using their iPhones. The application will also allow users to secure their wallet using a recovery phrase, plus the privacy key is stored user side, not on a centralized server. So that's good for you. The first version of the PIVX wallet comes with basic functionalities. And yeah, it says some of the more advanced features such as ZPIV transactions and staking are expected to be added later this year. But hey, there you guys go. That's an accomplishment in my book, right? So I also, oh man, I forgot I even put this in here. Yeah, guys, this is not a great story, but I wanted to bring it up anyway. So you have Norwegian Anne Elizabeth Hagen. She's been missing since Halloween of last year. According to Norwegian police, her husband Tom Hagen is Norway's 172nd richest person, according to Capital. So serious threats have been made by what appears to be kidnappers, which is why the police have kept a low profile since they started investigating the missing persons case in November. So according to the sources, she was attacked in her bathroom 10 weeks ago. There wasn't a sign of a forced entry, but they found evidence in the house. So her husband, Tom Hagen, arrived home to an empty house on Halloween where he found a written letter. The letter was written in Norwegian with spelling errors, whatever that means. The threat note demanded a 9 million euro ransom to be paid in Monero. Well, at least these guys are getting smart with the anonymous cryptocurrencies. So the threat note went on and claimed that Anne Elizabeth would be murdered if the police got involved. That's why the police think they're dealing with a kidnapping case. Unfortunately, there's been no sign of life from her since then. The police believe the kidnappers were after Tom Hagen's wealth, you think? And it says he's presently worth around $200 million. He's a real estate investor and owns 70% of major energy company in Norway. So, guys, this is really unfortunate news. Yeah, so that's terrible news. I'm sorry I even brought that up, guys. But, actually, it's been rough all around. I mean, not that this compares to that, but for example, we've had a lot of layoffs even in just the blockchain space. I don't even know how to transition from that. But according to the CEO of Shapeshift, which is Eric Voorhees, he says that the company has unfortunately had to let go of some people. He says, with a heavy heart, today we laid off 37 people. We've published a blog on this. And, they go into saying what happened. So they're not the first company to do this. I mean, Bitmain laid off their entire Bitcoin Cash development team. You also had Consensus with some major layoffs. So they say business was declining from both aggregate market recession and increased competition. Our imposition of KYC documents themselves, the result of trying to be cautious in a challenging regulatory environment, caused many of our most valuable API partners to leave us for competitors who have not perceived regulatory risk in the same way. We expected it, but still, it stung both financially and psychologically. Yeah, I mean, one of the things about Shapeshift was you didn't have to KYC. You just, you could convert your Doge to Bitcoin or Bitcoin to Ethereum or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, so it says the Instant Online Exchange introduced mandatory KYC requirements back in 2018. They had instant backlash. For example, immediately after that, you had self-hosted payment processor BTC Pay announce that it intended to ditch the platform and use an interim solution as quickly as possible. And I've showed you guys this yesterday. Now, I get it. These guys are trying to be compliant, but it's also discouraging. So not only have they lost major players, and not that I'm sure it's putting any type of a, major dent in it, but for example, I always like to show you guys this. I'm on Google right now. I live in New York. That's where my IP address is from. If I click on this, it says that I'm censored. Please protect consumers. As you scroll down here, you can read you're in a state of jurisdiction, state of New York, right? So crazy. I mean, I know they're trying to do their thing, but I'm censored. I can't even use it if I wanted to. And these other guys, the whole objective of using it was so that they didn't have to KYC. So it's tough. There's going to be a tough balance between regulation and progress. Actually, guys, I made a video the other day up here and, I was asking the question, is the US, are we missing out? Are we really missing out on this blockchain revolution while all these other guys, are able to move forward because their countries are very crypto friendly, whereas in New York, I can't use a website. So I don't know. Just bringing it up, guys. Now let's end on some good news today. Not everything's negative, okay? I know that was a string of negativity, a lot of crazy, drama going on today. But here's something positive. So the world's 23rd richest man invests in cryptocurrency exchanges Bakkt's first funding round. So according to EJ Insight, this is pretty interesting. You have Horizon Ventures, Hong Kong venture capital firm founded by Li Ka-shing, who is the 23rd richest man in the world, has been accumulating an assortment of portfolios of tech startups, and now he can add Bakkt to his list. So obviously this isn't the first time. He's also invested in BitPay and a few others as well. Now, you had CEO from Bakkt, Kelly Loeffler, and she said backing by some of the biggest names among institutional investors could help the cryptocurrency market gain much needed recognition. Institutional backing could also reduce the volatility that has plagued the crypto market for years. Some of the people that have also invested include Galaxy Digital, Mike Novogratz. You also have Pantera Capital. Okay, they're pretty massive as well. Alan Howard and several others. Physically delivered crypto futures will set Bakkt apart from the competition as rival exchanges CME and CBOE settle their contracts in fiat. Bakkt's contracts will also be warehoused and cleared through ICE's US-based futures exchange and clearinghouse. I'm sure most of you who watch the channel regularly already know that, but there are some new faces in the crowd, and I wanted to let you know why it's so much better to have physically settled Bitcoins. In fact, if you check out my video from a couple days ago, we dive into why physically settled Bitcoin, futures is so much healthier and better for the space. And finally, one more article before we go, another one from France. So it looks like they're starting to sell Bitcoin at 6 tobacco shops, and they're aiming for 6,500 next month. So this is an initiative to sell Bitcoin in France's 24,000 total tobacco kiosks, and they launched it despite a vote of no confidence from the central bank. So they said, screw you guys, we're doing it anyway, right? So I don't doubt it, man. You guys over in France, you don't play games, man. You guys setting up Bitcoin kiosks in your tobacco shops and you're doing a bank run. It's crazy, guys. So before we go, shout out to a member of the community that did this cool artwork. I actually used it on the cover of my intro or my thumbnail yesterday. It's like Bitcoin Pac-Man. He's completely got the dollar cornered and like game over, right? So that's pretty cool. That's it for today, guys. So before we go, I do want to remind you guys, obviously we have the Ledger X that has come out. They do have the limited edition Genesis block. I actually just got an email saying that, mine, I did qualify for the Genesis block. I'm sure if you didn't order yet, it's probably not too late. If you guys want, I do have an affiliate link below. It helps to support the channel and it doesn't cost you anything extra. You don't have to use it, but I do appreciate it, guys. So that being said, that's it for today. And no, I did not forget about the t-shirt giveaway, guys. All right, so we have to give away a t-shirt from yesterday. So let us see right here. Here's the video. We are going over to the random comment picker. Let us see. 372 unique comments. All right, drum roll, please. Robert Malloy, hoping again for a shirt. Well, crypto hugs and stuff. Well, there you go, Robert. Crypto hugs and stuff to you too, buddy. You won the shirt. Awesome. So be sure to hit me up in my About section, Robert, over here, right here on the thing, and hit up the email, and I will get back to you. And if you guys didn't win the shirt, it's okay. I literally have stuff all the time. These companies send me t-shirts and all this kind of stuff, little USB sticks, and I just give them away because what the hell am I going to do with it, right? So that being said, you guys are freaking awesome. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Again, everyone that's been liking, subscribing, commenting, you guys know that you're the reason that I get up and do this every single day. I really love you guys. You're awesome. I know today's news was kind of blah. I mean, there wasn't really anything like that super jumped out. It was sort of just like a lot of little stories, but you know, hey, can't always be an exciting day in Bitcoin. Can't always be an exciting day in the market, right? Actually, real quick before we go, ooh, it looks like it actually did dip below. It dipped below 4,000. It's under 4,000! Oh my God. Sorry, I've been waiting the whole video to do that. So it might pop back up. I don't know. Keep your eyes on it, guys. This one's tricky because it's kind of curving a little bit. You know, this one was nice and flat, and I found from my previous experience it tends to jump up, but right now, it could be anyway, guys. So be careful out there. Stay safe. That being said, I'm getting out of here. Shout out to everyone that's been liking, subscribing, commenting. You guys freaking rock. I'm done. My name's K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto and peace out.